I felt like we stopped the bleeding from what we've been going through the last couple of weeks. We were good in the red zone, good in third down, and good for the run. Aside from 2 runs they popped, we didn't fit the gaps right, but we gave ourselves a chance. And really for what we were getting ready to play and the style they were going to play, I thought we did what we needed to do. The late touchdown, it's tough. We had Lucas playing safety. He's never played safety. And then Bobby's out there at corner, and they got us. Those guys will learn from it. But they got put in a tough spot, so particularly Lucas. But we got a turnover, which we desperately needed, and had a 3rd and 1 stop. So it was better on defense. Not saying it's good enough, but it's better. And so that's encouraging. And I feel like we go in that game and we play half as good as we have on offense with what we did defensively, and we have a chance to win that game, but we didn't execute. 3rd downs were not good enough. 3 of 9, 0 for 6, 4th down, 1 of 3 on 3rd and 1, or short yardage, I should say. So, and then the 2 turnovers, one of them being for 7 points. So that's not a recipe to win. Special teams really, for the opportunities we had, Alexander had a nice return, that unit did, and then we had 2 punts. We pinned them in the 13-yard line. One of them was because of a personal foul, and then defensively, the other thing that hurt us was we had those 3 penalties. Those were critical. They hurt us. One took away a sack, and then the other 2 out there on the perimeter with Jeff. So. But that's where we're at.
And the pressure that they were able to generate, it seemed like Jared was under more pressure than he's been, pretty much all year. Was that just a case of that's a good defensive front, they had a good scheme, or was it something they were doing a little bit different, or what do you attribute to kind of Jared being under duress?
Yeah, they did a lot of things internally, internal stunts with those guys. I think their plan was to go after my guess is their plan was to go after our guards. That was probably before they knew Jonah was playing, but they felt like that was where they needed to go, the interior of our offensive line as a starting point, and really push the pocket on Goff. And then Judon, he got us a couple of times on the edge. But that got us their stunt games, which is that, and then a little bit of the odd front, but I felt like for the most part we handled that in the run game. They just kind of widened everything out and played 2-gapped everything, and they mixed a couple of things up in the red zone, but it wasn't anything exotic. We just didn't. We just could not get in a rhythm. We could not, and Goff was uneasy early and just we could never get him going. And everybody's got a hand in that.
Started with Logan and it switched to Evan at halftime. First glance, it seemed like Logan was playing, certainly better than he had early in the season. Was that a performance-based thing, or was that a pre-planned rotation? What was going on?
Well, Evan was not 100%, and he hadn't got any of the practice reps going into the game, and Logan had him, and we just felt like physically Logan was going to give us our best shot early, and really Evan was going to be more if needed, reserve, man, and something happens, injury related, but it kind of forced our hand. Once we got an MA early, we just felt like we needed to go with Evan.
Dan, after last week's game, you were pretty transparent in kind of shouldering the blame for a decision that you regretted. And looking at the tape this morning, did you look at anything and say, shouldn't have done that, or if I had it to do over again, I would do it again?
No, I don't. Just with where it went. I wanted to be patient in that game, but I also know this. Man, the first 4th and 1, that was less than half a yard, and we're running behind Sewell, and it was Logan, and we're giving it to Jamal. I didn't second guess that one bit. I would take that every day of the week, and we got stuffed on it, so and then just knowing where we're at on the other 4th downs where it was playing out, I feel like that's what we needed to do.
Just wondering your assessment of the mood of the roster now after starting the year 1-4?
Yeah, look, I think everybody's in the same boat here. Everybody's upset. Everybody is frustrated. Nobody likes losing here. I think everybody knows we're better than 1-4, but we haven't shown that collectively. In pieces, we have, but I also know what kind of group of guys we got in this locker room. You know, I mean, Brad and I built it that way. So these guys aren't going to lay down. They're not going to give up. It's a good group of guys, and we got to regroup. We got the bye to do that, make adjustments, figure out what we can do better. How do we use our personnel? You know, what do we do to maximize the personnel? You know, do we need to make a shift in some of the things that we do defensively, offensively? Do we need to calm things down even more? Do we need to, you know, and look, I'm looking at practice. You know, how do we practice? What do we need to do? We need to do more one-on-one. I know that. To me, that really pops off the tape. One-on-one route running, coverage, one-on-one rush, all of it. So that's just one little thing. But there'll be other things that come with it. But yeah, you look at all of it.
This was always going to be a patient process from the time you got here, but you know, it does seem like this maybe is the time where things should be starting to turn a corner with the win-loss record. Has this been more difficult than you imagined when you got here?
Well, I would say I did not anticipate us being 1-4 going into the bye. I did not. You know, I did not see that. But I also know, man, it's a long season, and I know the kind of guys we got. I know what we're capable of when we get it right. I like where our defense is headed now because I think we've got some clarity on some things, and I know how we need to proceed moving forward, and I know that our offense is going to be better than what they portrayed yesterday. And we got a pretty good unit in special teams, and it's like I told the team, we just got to find a way to win against Dallas. All resources, everything goes into that one game, and that's all that matters because you got to get the first one before you can rack up a second one and before you can rack up a third one. But I've just there again, just for me personally, like I'm not going to get down. I don't get frustrated like that. I mean, yeah, I'm upset, but also I've coach and player. I've just seen it too many times. I mean, things. You get a little momentum, things will turn in a hurry, and then you could be the hottest team going. So, but we got to clean our stuff up. We got to get better.
You said a couple times you know the type of guys you have in the locker room. I think us around here we've seen the culture element being built. But where does talent fit in this equation? Are you talent to turn this thing around?
Yeah, look, I do. I think we do, and I think we got plenty here to win with. On this roster, on the practice squad, we got plenty. And, man, there's a number of combinations we haven't even tried yet, you know. So we're going to look at everything. We'll take a peek at everybody. There again, we'll adjust what we need to as coaches. But yeah, you know, I think that across the board, our FBI has got to become much more important, you know, and I do think that's got to be an area that we really focus on moving forward with our guys.
Now, a year and a half into this, have you, sort of like what Justin said, have you uncovered a challenge that you didn't expect to run into? And I don't know, whether it's the young players' development or a lot of the young draft picks are injured, of course. Is there something that you encountered that you didn't expect?
I don't think so. Not that I would say, look, everybody has injuries, but I do know that, you know, they usually come in waves, and I feel like we've been riding this wave for a year and a half, and that's I didn't anticipate that. You always anticipate that you're going to get them, and so, but like I said, you know, one of our goals this year was, man, we got to, just because you don't have guys in like any other team, we have to find ways to win. That can't be an excuse like last year. So, and look, that's why we kept some of the guys we did, right? You know, the backups, the guys that are on practice squad, because they're guys we feel like we can trust, and they can go in there and function for us.
Speaking of young guys, I thought I saw a stat that Aiden Hutchinson is double teamed the second most of any defensive end in the league statistically. Do you see that a lot? Are they just going after him?
Man, I don't Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily felt that way, but I know that he gets nudged a little bit. I wouldn't say it's anything, you know. I don't know. I guess that surprises me a little bit, to be honest with you. But I do know that he's dealt with. He is getting some chips and nudges and things of that nature. We moved him to the rush end yesterday with Charles being out, and he did some real good things, particularly in the run game. There's some things certainly he can be better at, as all of them. But being on that open end, it was good to see him out there, and he'll grow from that experience. I would say this: Mac and Bugs played really well again, man, and Alex probably played his best game. I thought Kirby played a heck of a game. That was good to see. So, just in regards to those guys on defense.
Just to build on Bob's question a little bit, well, how much more do you need from those guys up front as a collective unit, though? I think it's been, a couple of weeks since a sack. I know sack isn't, the all be all, but, pressures, getting the quarterback off his spot, it's been a little bit limited, the first 5 games. Just how much more do you need from those guys to affect the quarterback moving forward?
Yeah, well, that's one of the areas we're looking at is how do we help our guys generate more pressure, and there's a number of ways you do it. You either pressure, right? So you're bringing 5 or 6 man pressure. You either just stunt or you let them just fan it out and let them go win a one-on-one, or you guys that have it straight rush. And so we kind of tinkered with everything, but we got to hammer down on some things that we think we can help them with. And we need more rush. Now, that being said, I think we can help a little bit with the way we practice, more one-on-ones, a lot more one-on-ones. I think we're going to need to pad up for that stuff. We hadn't padded up in 3 weeks, so, we're going to need to do some of that. And then I think we look at our personnel. We're hopeful for Pascal. We don't know. He just started practice last week. We get him. Let's see where he goes, see if he can help us there inside. Kaminsky's coming back at some point here, hopefully by Dallas, but we'll see. And then hopefully Charles will be back, and so that alone will give us a little bit of juice in there. So that'll help with what we're doing.
With Amani, Justin and Sean, with Amani, it's a contract year for him. It's obviously a difficult decision for you as a coach, and probably something tough for him to take. How do you prevent something like that from going sideways with the player, checking out, things of that nature?
Yeah, look, I think it was important for him to know that this doesn't mean that this is done. It never meant that. He knew that last week. But with where we were at, we were last in the league by a long shot, and we felt like majority of the issues that were popping up were on the back end. It just we needed to do that, and we needed to shake things up, and so, but just like I told him, that this doesn't mean this is over. We're not just discarding Amani. He's going to have a shot, and he asked that last week. Will I have a shot even if it doesn't pertain to injury? And the answer is yes. He goes out there and practices and proves it, then absolutely he'll get an opportunity to go back out there and win that job. Amani's a pro. He's a pro.
Dan, kind of get back to the fourth down aggressiveness. You guys are on pace, more or less, to set maybe records in both attempts and conversions in fourth down. Is this analytics, overall math? Is this a general coaching philosophy, or is it a combination along with those two things and just what your roster maybe is capable of?
No, I think that a lot of it is probably where I feel like the strength of our team is. Yes, I'm a little more aggressive by nature, but I also, those 4th and 1s, I trust our offensive line and Jamal. Not that you're always going to run it or hand it to him. It's hard not to. It's hard not to run behind Sewell and Ragnow and Jonah and Deck. And but then even some of those, man. I just like yesterday we had the 4th and 8. Man, there's a line that okay, we are very comfortable with field goal. We are not comfortable with field goal. And now you have a decision. Do you go for it, or do you take a couple of delay penalties and then kick one up in the air, punt one up in the air? And so, and then once we got late in that game, I mean, I thought those were all very manageable. The 4th and 2s, the 4th and 4s, 4th and 5, or 4th and goal at the 5. I felt like, because I love what Ben had in. I love the plays that we had. I like the design. I knew who we were throwing them to, and it didn't work out. So, that's kind of where that game ended up going.
Was there anything that you felt surprised you, or that the team wasn't quite prepared for, that they saw from the Patriots?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say for the most part, I mean, they threw a couple of wrinkles, but nothing that we were not prepared or couldn't handle, that we couldn't handle. I mean, they're always going to throw a couple of things in there to try to get you behind the sticks, but no, we didn't handle what they did very well, particularly offensively. Did I not answer your question? I'm sorry.
You said
You were just
by
talking
nature,
about the
right?
aggressive
Yeah,
fourth down.
Yeah, and I guess most of it was just how much of that is who you have on this team, and you feel like you kind of have to do some of those things because of
Yeah.
the guys in the locker room, right? What you're capable of.
I think that's a lot of it. I don't. There again, I got a lot of faith in what we do offensively, and then every scenario. Like if you told me going in, like later in that game, I wouldn't have seen us going for all those 4th downs. But once you're down there that tight and it's short yardage, you do it. And so it just kind of came that way. It became that type of game, if you will. But no, I would be honest. Going into that game, I was not thinking about. I wanted to be much more conservative. And then that's where it went because of, well, you're 4th and half a yard, and then you don't feel good about the field goal range, particularly going into that tunnel where the wind comes back in. So it just kind of moved that way. That's where the game went, I felt like.